Members of Kingdom Plantae share three general characteristics. They are all multicellular, they are all photoautotrophic in that they use photosynthesis to make carbohydrates. And thirdly, all of their cell walls are composed of cellulose, which is the fiber that we take in when we consume vegetables. Now, many plants are vascular, but not all. The mosses, for example, are not vascular, but most of the other plants are, which means that they have a system of water and food conducting vessels or veins within their leaves, stems, and roots. Now, in this lecture, we're going to focus on halophytes, which are types of plants that can grow in salt water. In this slide, we're going to begin looking at some common types of marine plants, or halophytes. We're going to begin by looking at marsh grasses, and the most dominant form of a marsh grass is Spartina, the genus Spartina, which is a type of cord grass. They form large and often dense colonies within coastal salt marshes. So here in this area in northeast Florida, we have a lot of these along our coastline. They tend to grow very quickly, and they have a powerful root system that helps them to hold sediment and mud into place. So they are a very important plant in forming these salt marshes that usually kind of line the edge of our coastal waterways. Now, one way they are able to tolerate the high salinity of the ocean and estuaries is that they're able to excrete salt from salt glands in their leaves. If you look closely on the picture on the bottom right-hand corner, you can see salt crystallizing on the leaves of that specimen of Spartina. That indeed is the salt glands getting rid of the excess salt from the plant's body. A second type of marsh grass is Salicornia, or saltwort, glasswort, sometimes referred to as pickleweed. It is a cactus-like plant found in our salt marshes. It's leafless and smooth, although if you look closely towards the tips of the stems, you'll see they're almost look like pine cone little things. Those really are, morphologically speaking, those would be considered the leaves. An interesting thing about Salicornia is that during the fall it turns bright red, just as the leaves on a tree turn color. The next type of halophyte we're going to consider is the mangroves, which are trees and shrubs that grow in saltwater along coastal habitats in the tropics and subtropics. The first type of mangrove we're going to talk about is Rhizophora, or the red mangrove. The red mangrove is distinguished by its prop roots, which are roots that stick out of the side of the trunk of the plant that elevates it above the water and allows the roots to actually get oxygen for the plant, even while the tree is submerged. You may remember when we looked at the osmoregulation lab, we talked about this species of plant and their ability to carry out active transport by absorbing fresh water even when there is salt water. What allows them to do this is that they have a molecular pump that allows them to get rid of excess salt and take in water. These plants are ecologically important because they provide essential habitat for marine animals. In fact, many juvenile species of fish that we like to go fishing for get their start in the mangroves. They are also important for stabilizing tropical coastlines and preventing coastal erosion. These are just two very important reasons why it is actually illegal to cut down mangroves without a proper permit. A second type of mangrove is Avicennia, or the black mangrove. This is a mangrove that's more common around our parts. Next time you're down by the intercoastal waterway, you may look for pneumatophores sticking up out of the sand. These are tubes that are attached to the tree's roots that actually stick up out of the ground and allow the roots to breathe even when they're submerged by high tide. This plant is a little bit different in its osmoregulation in comparison to the red mangrove. It actually expels salt from its leaves. So another characteristic of the black mangrove is that it will have salty leaves. Sometimes you can actually see the crystals glimmering on the surface of the leaf. The next halophyte we're going to look at is the seagrasses. These are marine plants that grow completely underwater along shallow tropical coastlines, and they form very important marine habitats. In fact, there's an interesting network of migration that includes seagrass beds, the mangroves which we just talked about, and coral reefs. Many juvenile fish get their start in the seagrasses. They then migrate to the mangroves to where they grow up until they're big enough to actually migrate out onto the reef. The seagrass that you see here is Zostera, or eelgrass. It's a rather long grass and it's bright green, and it has ribbon-like leaves that are about 1 centimeter wide. It has short stems that grow up from these white branching rhizomes. Now, rhizomes are basically horizontal stems that have a little root system that extends down from them. So seagrasses are, again, an essential habitat, and again, it's also illegal to remove them from the water. The type of seagrass on this slide is Thalassia, or turtlegrass. Its leaves are shorter and wider than Zostera, but they still have rhizomes, that horizontal stem from which the leaves grow upward. These are an important food for sea turtles. So in addition to providing essential habitat, they also are an important food to animals such as sea turtles and also manatees.